Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Guys, we are pumping out some NBA content for a change because it's been a little while. So where are we at this point in the NBA season? Well, we're a little past the halfway point, which is about the time that we can start looking forward and towards the All-Star game, and which is a little less than a month away. And this is right around the time where they open up the fan voting for the game. It's been out for about a week now, maybe give or take a few days, I guess, which means we're going to be filling out our All-Star ballot for today. Now, usually, in case you didn't know, the fans vote for, they count for about 50% of the starters' votes. It used to be the fans entirely vote for the starters, but then the NBA realized that some fans have no idea what they're talking about. So they didn't want the fans to have 100% of the starters' votes, but the fans don't vote for the reserves at all. But that we're going to be voting for the reserves for today because we're going to be having fun with this whole thing. We're just going to go with who we think is deserving of an all-star spot, whether that's a starter or a reserve. We're just going to give our full opinion on the team. Now, I believe there are 7 reserves, so we're going to be filling out who I think is the deserving 5 starters for each conference, and then the 7 reserves as well. So guys, let's just get into it. Of course, this is heavily opinionated. Now, you guys make sure to comment your opinions as well. And guys, just to let you know, the way I judge voting is obviously individually as a player. You had to have had a great season up until this point, but I also reward winning. So if you're on a team that's been really good this year, then I think you're deserving of some higher consideration than a player that might not be on as good of a team. So with that being said, guys, let's fill out our all-star ballot. So we're gonna start, should we start with the West or the East? Well, the game's in Cleveland, so technically the West is the road team. So by that weird logic, let's just go with the West. So we're gonna start with the front court. Okay, so the way this works is it lists the top candidates and it lists their stats as well. So that helps me out a little bit just in case I'm not 100% remembering of the actual statistics of each player. Now, guys, you cannot have a Western Conference All-Star backcourt in terms of starters this year without having Moran. Now, I think he's been the best guard in the Western Conference this year. I know there's advocates for Curry, but Moran, what he's doing on a Memphis Grizzlies team that is way better than we all thought, just this incredible third-year leap that he's taken, he's become a true superstar. He's 100% deserving of starting in the All-Star game, and I would start him alongside Steph Curry. I think these two have been the 2 best guards in the Western Conference. Now, we have a lot of other good candidates, of course, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, both playing terrific like they always do. Damian Lillard, I wouldn't vote for him. He's obviously having a good year by NBA standards, but not by Damian Lillard standards, so I might pass on him for the All-Star voting. He's also been out for a while. He's still injured. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's playing really well. Thunder aren't really that good. And then Anthony Edwards obviously playing well. He might be a candidate for a reserve position, so we'll get back to this once we fill out the rest of the starters. So we're now going to go to the front court. Okay, who's deserving in the front court in my opinion? 100%. There's 2 obvious ones, okay? LeBron, easy decision. He's always deserving of a starting spot, obviously. But this year, I mean, old man LeBron, 37 years old, obviously you guys know how well he's playing. Just phenomenal. Almost 29 points per game. He's on a historically great stretch of his career this last month or so. He's just been unbelievable. Definitely deserving of a starting spot, despite the Lakers not being that good. Then we have, of course, Nikola Jokic. Now, this guy is the reigning MVP, but he's disrespected because he might be having a better year than his MVP season last year. And he went, in terms of individual players being impactful to one team, this man might have the biggest impact out of any player on any team, because when he doesn't play on the Nuggets, they're a terrible team, and when he plays, they're a pretty good team. They're well, I wouldn't say necessarily a contender, but him being there makes them a playoff team. Him not being there makes them a bottom-feeding team. So he's absolutely deserving of a starting spot. So who would be the last front court player in the Western Conference? It's not going to be street clothes, I'll tell you that much. Okay, Paul George, he's missed a lot of time. Karl-Anthony Towns is a candidate, but I don't really see another obvious one here. Valanciunas, maybe. Gobert, Moran. Okay, who's been the 3rd best player? You know what? This won't happen because I doubt it. He'll get this amount of fan voting, but I'm leaning towards. Oh, you know, okay. Let me give Gobert the start. I think Gobert's been great. I think he deserves to be a starter, but the guy I have in mind is also a candidate. I was going to say Valanciunas, but he might just be a reserve. I think, you know, obviously the Jazz being a much better team than the Pelicans is what's going to give Gobert that edge. He's having a phenomenal season, like 15 points, 15 rebounds a game. Easy candidate to be a starter. Then we move on to the Eastern Conference. Now we're going to start with our front court, okay? Now, the Hawks haven't been that good, but Trae Young's obviously played like an all-star. Okay, first guy we got to get out of the way, 100% Demar Derozan, okay? The Bulls, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, a surprising contender this year. Demar Derozan's had a terrific season, maybe the best of his career. Definitely deserves to be a starter. Now, would we start two Bulls in the backcourt? I don't think so. I think Zach LaVine's more of a bench guy. James Harden's a candidate to start. Now, the real question is, who's more deserving? Trae Young or James Harden? Because in my opinion, it's coming down to those two. Oh, LaMelo's playing well too. Is LaMelo good enough to be a starter? I'm going to reward James Harden because the Nets are obviously a contending team and have one of the better records in the Eastern Conference, so I'm going to reward that. But Trae Young is also a candidate, so my backcourt is James Harden and DeMar DeRozan, which brings us to the front court. And this is the easiest three people for the front court, I would say. Easily Kevin Durant, although he's injured right now. Get back soon, KD. Giannis, of course, reigning Finals MVP, one of the better players in the league for a long time now. And Joel Embiid. These three, they've stepped up their game. They're on winning teams. They've played phenomenally. They've played just unbelievably fantastic. And there's no one else, I think, in the Eastern Conference that's more deserving to be in the starting front court than these three guys. So guys, those are our starters. Now we're going to select 7 reserve guys. Now we don't get to vote for the reserves. Like I said, the fans have no say at all. This is all coaches, I think, players and media, a combination of coaches, players, and media. So we don't have a say in this, but we're just gonna list off 7 guys that I would have as my reserves. So we're gonna go back to the hang on. Okay, let's just pretend we don't have Gobert. I'm just gonna list off some guys that I would probably have in the reserves. And that is, okay, so is there someone here that's deserving? All right, I would have Karl Anthony Towns as a reserve, okay. Okay, Valanciunas, Karl Anthony Towns, and to be honest, I think that's it for the front court. I think, well, actually, let's go one more. Let's go, Wiggins has played well. I'm gonna say, I can't really think of someone who's been legitimately really good. Good enough to make, okay, we'll give the nod to Paul George. Okay, I know he's missed some time, but he's had a good year when he's played. So we're gonna go Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jonas Valanciunas. So, okay, hang on, let's just add Gobert here. Where is he? Okay, he's down here. All right, so then we go to our front court. Okay, so I'm just gonna look for, okay, so front court, all right, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, 100% in, okay? Those two definitely deserve it. I would give Anthony Edwards the nod, all right? And our final reserve for the West, let's go with Luka. I mean, he's a big star, and, you know, when he's played well, but he has had a slightly disappointing year, but he's still playing well enough to be an all-star. So those are our 7 reserves for the Western Conference. So now if we go to the Eastern Conference, who would our reserves be? All right, let's go with, okay, Trae Young, that's a reserve. He 100% deserves to make it. Zach LaVine deserves to make it. Jaylen Brown, he's played really well. I think he deserves to be an all-star. Do we think Bradley Beal's an all-star? I'm gonna say no. I think there's better candidates, although he has had a very good season. LaMelo Ball should be an all-star. Okay, so that's 4 right there. And you know what? Give the nod to my man Fred VanVleet. He's having a terrific year. I think he deserves to be an all-star for sure. Someone should be. I mean, the Raptors aren't playing too well, but I think he deserves to be an all-star. So those, we have 5 guys from the front court. Obviously, the 7 reserves can be, I think, any order of front court and back court. Doesn't need to be a certain number, but let's see. Okay, so we have 2 more spots available. So who do we bring off the bench? I would bring Jason Tatum. Okay, and who gets the last all-star spot? You know what? There's a lot of good candidates, a lot of good players, obviously. I would give it to Miles Bridges. I think he's had a phenomenal season. I think he's a prime candidate for Most Improved Player of the Year. So I would honestly, seriously consider giving Miles Bridges an all-star spot. So guys, that is our all-star ballot for 2022. Of course, comment your opinions. Like I said, I think this is looking like a pretty good team. I think these 10 players have probably been the 10 best players in the NBA this year, right? Or, well, for their positions, obviously, some backcourts and front courts, like the East or West might have a backcourt or front court that's more stacked. But considering that you have to have 3 front court guys and 2 guards, I think we got the 2 best guards in the West and East, and the 3 best front court guys in each the East and West. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will make sure to subscribe if you're a big sports fan. Like the video if you liked it, and guys, I will see you in the next video.